It's Grow the Heck Up.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy John Keith.
What's poppin', man? It's your brother Illuminate, aka the Blessed Coast Secret, man.
Yo, what's going on? This is Ruslan from King's Dream Entertainment.
What it do, what it is, it's your man Triple D, aka Dayton, representing God over money in the Menace movement. And you're now tuned in to CHH Today Sports. Yeah.
So 7 years between Renaissance and the Masterpiece, right?
Masterpiece, yeah. It's like that number 7 completion, right?
Hey, when you said it, that's the first thing that popped into my mind, yo.
Yeah, yeah, cause like when I made the Renaissance, I wasn't I didn't approach it like I'm about to be an artist and make a bunch of albums. It was like I got to get this one out of my system because it's the album I always wanted to make since I started enjoying hip hop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like that one that I would have did had I been able to make music in 95, 96.
Wow,
Right.
right.
The Renaissance was, you know. So once I got it out of my system, I had no plans to do another album. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's part of the reason. Huh?
So go ahead.
No, I was saying that's part of the reason why it took so long between projects, because, you know, as an artist, you're supposed to be consistent and I mean constantly drop material. But I just never approached it that way.
Right. So even speaking to that, because there's a couple of things that stick out to me right away, right? Like my man has a prologue on his album, and right back for me, and I get it, I'm older than some cats. To me, like the part of the golden age of hip hop was probably 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. And I know some of that influences yours, but I'm not hearing from you directly. But I mean, you got a prologue on the Masterpiece, which by the way just dropped, man. If you haven't heard the Masterpiece yet, I really think you should go get it, man. I got to hear it a week early because I was one of the pre-orders, so I was listening to it and like, hey, man, make sure y'all get it. So I love what you did with it, but again, starting with a prologue, that goes back, that's almost vintage to me, bro, right? We've had a conversation, like that's a vintage feel to me because that's the hip-hop I grew up listening to. So when you talk about 7 years in between Renaissance and now the Masterpiece, again, you didn't doing anymore. What led you to do another album, and why the way that you arranged it? Because this, man, I feel like I was part of the experience for real, man.
Well, that was kind of the goal, you know what I mean? Because being that I'm not an artist that again drops music every quarter, you know, I take cues after like Prince and Michael Jackson and Sade and them type of artists where they're gonna come once a decade, but when they come, it's gonna last a decade. So I said, that's the approach I gotta take if I'm gonna do another one. Not to be cliche, but to be real, God is the reason the Masterpiece happened. Because it wasn't me. I didn't want to do any more projects. But what's funny is the last record on the album was the first one created, which was $1 in a Dream. That was the first song made for the Masterpiece.
Hey, my current favorite, by the way.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, a lot of people was digging that one the most. But when I was actually just producing a beat, like for no reason. Like I was just inspired to make a beat. And started putting it together. And this is back in, that song was birthed in 2013, 5 years ago.
Wow, 2013.
Word. So that lends to the testament of being timeless, because I'm like, if the song ain't good by next year, it ain't worth me going through all this to put this music out. You know what I'm saying? It gotta last. So when that record came together, it was just the beat, and then I was so like taken back by the beat. I was like, I can't sell this. I gotta do something to this. You know what I'm saying? And like the concept, everything was there for the record. Like I didn't even really put no effort into it. Probably wrote the verse in half an hour. Wrote the hook in about half an hour. But in my ears, the way my ears work, I heard another voice, so I said, all right, I can't spit the hook. I get somebody to do it for me. So I got my man Avalon to do the hook. I told him what the hook was. I recorded the session and reached out to my man Jay Johnson. He just felt like the right fit for the other verse. So reached out to him.
Johnson, that's formerly Jay Silas, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Formerly Jay Silas. I mean, and me and Jay had a real good relationship for a few years up to that point. So it was nothing for him to do the record. He felt excited to do it. And actually, that wasn't the verse that y'all heard. Ain't the original verse. He had sent me a verse, and I was like, anybody that know me know I'm a critic. So he sent me that first verse. I said, nah, Jay, that ain't it. He's like, word, this one ain't it? I said, nah, Jay, that ain't it.
That's crazy, man.
I said, go back to the drawing board, brother. So he went back, and then he came harder and dropped that verse, the one that y'all heard. He gave me that. I said, see, that's what I'm talking about. Now, if I took that first one, I wouldn't have got this. He was like, word, you right. You right.
Hey, it was fire too, man. I hope your head for a slice of bread.
Word, he just went in. And what's funny, I remember part of the conversation, he said, yo, do you want me to not talk about God too much? I said, what? He's like, I just want to know because some artists be telling me that. I say, yo, Jay.
Wow.
I asked you to do the record because I know what you do. I want you to do what you do. I said, what do you mean don't talk about God too much? Talk about God as much as you need to talk about God. Like, he the reason I'm even doing this record. Like, who am I hiding God from? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
So he was like, bet. Came back 2-3 days later. He's like, listen to this. Spit it over the phone. I said, yeah, that's the one. So that was the first record that came. And when it was done, I was like, okay, what I'm going to do with it? It just felt too powerful of a record to release it as a one-off. So I was like, dang, do I got to make another album? And the journey begins.
Hey, but I mean, just like you said, man, you gave credit to God for doing that. And we all go, it seems like we all hit either a crossroads at some point or something happens in our life. We had a conversation I want to revisit here, or at least I saw you say something in one of the Telegram chat rooms we frequent through Grow the Heck Up, Boss and them.
Yeah.
And you made a comment to me about having live. I definitely want to have that conversation with you. But before we do that to the album, man, it's like the number 7 is amazing to me. The fact that you created A Dollar in a Dream in 2013, and you said it sounds like a timeless record. It sounds like something I could have heard back in the 90s, and it sounds like something. As soon as I heard the beat come on, and I look over, even my son's like bobbing his head, and it's like he's used to hearing a certain type of music with me. Everything I play in the whip isn't always Christian. I'm like, hey, we don't repeat everything we hear. We know what we're about and everything. So that leaves me with the sound that I hear you having. And again, with the vintage, the interludes, man, where it sounds like you're just out on the block on the corner just talking.
Yeah.
At least myself personally, and a lot of people that in my circle, that's what we ended up growing up listening to. Who were some of the influences? Who were some of the people you listened to growing up?
Growing up, I probably got into hip hop around 92, give or take, and then I kind of went backwards and did my homework. But my initial influence was Redman. He was probably the first artist that really made me pay attention because I'm Caribbean, you know what I mean? I'm Jamaican and Trinidadian, so I grew up with reggae music. I didn't grow up with hip hop. So even though I was born in America, born in New York, it was like still New York got a heavy Caribbean community. So everything was about reggae for me and soca. So heard some hip hop, but it didn't really grab me until I heard Redman. I was like, whoa, all right. And I'm sitting there watching Video Music Box in Flatbush, Brooklyn. And I'm sitting there stuck like, then I started to digging and do my homework. So I would definitely say, Redman, EPMD, Wu-Tang Clan, of course, because it was the first crew to come out of my home borough, Staten Island. So it was like, yo, these are the dudes I be seeing around the way. Like, You know what I'm saying? And they started growing and popping off. Yeah, and you know, there's a lot more to that story. Maybe we'll get into. Uh, but yeah, who else? Who else? I love Dre and Snoop. You know, the West Coast sound was big to me. I used to have Doggy Dog World on repeat like crazy.
Man, I was
Uh,
gonna ask you if there was any West Coast heads that you listen to.
yeah, man, yeah. Snoop, Dre, Cube. Who else? Who else? Who else?
Cats like Rad Jazz and them, the Licks back in the
Yeah,
day.
Max Kaz, the licks. And what's crazy is like I wasn't. This dude's wild. What's
Right,
crazy is
too important in New York, huh?
what's crazy is I didn't even know they was really from the West Coast because for me, I didn't care about the region. I mean, I was like, if I like the music, I like the music. Only later in my years, I'm like, oh, all these dudes is from Cali, you know. But yeah, the licks, Raz Cash, Cypress Hill. Was listening to all that. Grand Puba, Nas, Mobb Deep. So like those were all my early influences, hip hop wise, you know. But the thing about like how you talking about the you know the skits and the interludes and all that, like my thing is I tell everybody around me as a creative, you want to create a world, you know, especially now, music dies so quick.
Yeah, that's good.
A world you want to create an experience, not just songs. Everybody's making songs. Technology allow anybody in their bedroom to make songs, songs. So part of me even producing again, because I produced before I rapped, and part of me producing again, like I produce every record on the Masterpiece because I had to create that world, that narrative, that backdrop. I studied filmmaking for a year while making the album. You know what I mean? So it was like
Man,
what textures, what tones. Plus, yo, you ever heard of chromesthesia or
no,
synesthesia?
no.
All right, so it's basically where your senses kind of cross one another. So like sounds bring colors in my mind,
Okay,
and colors bring sounds,
okay.
or like letters or colors could have taste in your mind. I know Kanye has it. A couple other like really creative people had it. I think uh, I don't know if it was Bach or Chopin or one of them classical dudes had the same thing. What was the dude that cut his
It's just
ear off or
amazing.
something like
Hey,
that?
Bach and Chopin, man. That's again, it tells you even the stuff that you might even sample, man. I like it.
Right. Like they all had that thing. I didn't know there was a word for it. I just know I always used to explain stuff that way, like, yo, it gotta sound blue or it gotta sound red. My cousin be like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't know. Like I know what I'm saying, but I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? So because of that, I produce based on that. Like, this mood has a red mood. I gotta create a red type of track. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't get beats from other producers. Like I know Wit. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Wit. Like Wit and Dre Murray work with Lecrae and all of them. Wit is like my right hand man. He used to send me beats, and I'm like, yo, the beat is fire, but it don't fit. And he couldn't understand what I was saying.
All right, not the right color, huh?
It's not the right color for you know what I'm saying. So even in my study in filmmaking, I understand they choose certain chords and certain sounds to dictate and manipulate your mood, which could be a whole nother discussion. You know what I'm saying?
All
So it's like, how could I manipulate the mood for the right backdrop
right.
for the music to carry the story? You know what I mean? So and with the skits and interludes, I wanted to create those windows of that conversation, them conversations on the stoop or in the car, so you feel like you're in New York. Because listen, when I hear a Snoop record, I want to feel like I'm in Cali. You know what I'm saying? When I hear a
Feel-
T.I. record, I want to feel like I'm in Atlanta. So
Right,
if I'm creating, you're going to feel like I'm where I'm at. You know
man.
what I mean? And all those nuances are important pieces to that.
Absolutely, man. And I think one thing that you just said is you became a student. You studied film for a year,
Yeah.
and especially with the way that your mind works and the way that it appears to process,
Mm.
definitely is heard and felt in the movie. Because I mean, whatever you were looking to achieve, it was achieved with me. I know that. I know that a couple other people that have listened through it. So again, I say, if you have not heard the Masterpiece yet, the Rigz just dropped. What was the release date? It's been about a month, hasn't it?
May 18th.
May 18th, so just
Yeah.
over a month. Still available. I know you can go get it, but
Yeah.
I think it's important to study. And I kind of want to back up to something you said too, because you were talking about when Jay Silas came to you and was talking about, hey, are you okay if I speak about God, or do you want me to just speak about him a little bit? And your response is, and I think I get it because I've been in many different circles as a Christian growing up as a military brat, moving every 3 to 4 years as a kid growing up, and we'd run into times where we'd visit 6, 7, 8 different churches till we found one that we like. So I've seen a lot of different things throughout Christendom, if you will. And again, being a fly on the wall, sometimes taking a part in conversations in some of the different rooms that we're in, we're dealing with Christians and Hebrew Israelites and different belief systems from A to Z, realistically, at the end of the day, right?
Right.
So when you end up having someone approach you, you said that people really tell him, hey, don't talk about God too much, or how much are you going to talk about God? Why do you think that is in the music industry? And I ask this because I've heard you talk about hip hop. I've heard you, again, whether you want to call it a genre or a subgenre of CHH, right? We're CHHTS. We're putting a lot of that stuff out here. But I fall into your category, and I'd like to hear you speak to that. When you just look at hip hop as hip hop, can you speak to that?
So, what do insecure people do? They hide, right? They either hide or they do too much. And I think the reason, you know what I'm saying? The reason people do that is because they're insecure in God. They're insecure in their faith. So it's like, how could you claim you out here representing something you insecure about? And what about the people that overdo it? They in the same category. You know, I create music from where I'm at, and I always have. I've never, like we had this discussion the other day, do you do music as ministry? I think my music can minister, but I don't approach it as ministry. And in not approaching it as ministry doesn't mean I'm going to hide God or deliberately curb God. You know what I'm saying? I make music from where I'm at. And anyone I choose to be on the record with me, I expect them to do the same. So since I got saved, I never once said I got to rap for God now. I just kept doing what I always did. Before I was saved, I was a battle rapper before I was saved. I was battling everybody, talking about I'm nicer than you. I was witty with the metaphors and the punchlines and the similes. That's the type of rapper I was. You know what I'm saying? I used to always battle the street dudes because I was in that element. I grew up there, but I was never a follower. So I was trying to go to school, trying to make something of myself. I used to come outside and clown dudes that was out there hustling or talking about they shooting this. I'm like, man, you ain't shooting nothing, man. You out here with me on the stoop. Shut up. That's the type of rapper I was. So even so after I got saved, that never changed. You know what I'm saying? It was like I was talking about God because that's where I was at. I was learning, finding my footing, talking about whatever. You know what I mean? So I wasn't insecure. I was never insecure about who I am, where I'm at. I used to rub people the wrong way, or they would look at me funny when I be in certain church circles. Cause I didn't grow up in the church. You know what I'm saying? And I would carry myself very real. And real doesn't mean without couth, like you don't know where you at. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't front for nobody. And the funny thing is, I met a lot of Nicodemuses in this walk. Wow. You know what I mean? The ones that'll come talk to me when they step out the crowd, like, yo, I felt everything you said and did. But they wouldn't say it in front of everybody. You know what I mean? So
wow.
So to answer your question, again, I think that comes from insecurity. When you're doing too much and when you're not doing enough, just be. I always let my music be an indicator of where I am. You know, I look back and listen, I say, okay, that's where I'm at. So as I listen to progression in my music, I know if I'm growing, if I'm stunted, or if I'm regressing.
Right, man. And I think again, seeing certain conversations that are had, and it appears to me you've probably been having them conversations for a while, especially. You look at someone like 7-2 that has just dropped it out, and he's right out here from Sacramento, where I'm at. But
Yeah.
people have a tendency to look at the outer shell before they see anything, and I just challenge anyone to listen to his music, and search your own heart after listen, whatever you have to say about what he looks like and what he sounds like and what he says. I think it's important, especially in the circles that we're in, to have these types of conversations, right? Because along with being insecure or doing too much, a lot of times you're running into a bunch of people that are just parroting things that they've heard. And I say that because I was one of those, you know what I mean? To where I feel like God stopped me in my track a couple of times to where I thought I really knew something. Coming up on somebody that says they have some wisdom in it, I'm ready to have a fight. Like, hey, let's go. Let me see if your knowledge is up to par with mine. I'm like, wait, when you get to where you start checking your heart on that, it's like there's a lot of people that believe differently than I do. And I think there's a lot of things that I thought in my life before that I think about differently now because I decided to listen to what someone else had to say about a certain topic, whether it's God or just life in general. And I think it speaks volumes to what you just said, is that you're having conversations, your music, any art that you do, it's gonna express where you are. And again, you don't have anything to be insecure about because this is who you are. And I think there's power in that. I think that none of us have really arrived yet. At least I don't feel that way. Because if we had, then I don't think we would still be in this race the way that we are. Kind of transitioning to non-musical for a second, so I hear the basis of being, what would you say, a Trinidadian? Is it Trinidad?
Yeah, my father's from Trinidad. My mother's Jamaican.
Man, so one thing I remember from being at Sac State with one of my boys, I have to say it just real quick, man, the beef patties, man, are those for real, or is that just an American Jamaican thing, man? You know what I'm talking about?
It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Things are fire, son.
That's why we struggle with weight in Jamaica, yo.
Hey, bro, I'm going to visit my brother in Maryland here in about, and I'm like, hey, man, because out here at the 7-Elevens in Maryland, they got the beef patties out here. It's all Indian dudes, man. So we just got regular food up in there, whatever they think we want, man. So it's funny to me though. But that's one thing I'm looking forward to going to Maryland about. But aside from that, going back to what do you do outside with your family being? We were talking a little bit earlier, and man, I didn't even know you were married, bro. You said you were talking to wifey, so what is your life like outside of the specific music part? For those that haven't heard the Masterpeace or Renaissance for that, check them both out. They're both on your Bandcamp, I do believe. Definitely, we'll leave that information for you guys to be able to get here before we get off. But what do you do out? What's a day in the life with Rigz? And then what do you do? Because I know you do some pretty interesting things outside of just music too. You know what I mean? So what's a day in the life, and what are some things that you're into that people may not even really know about or even think or consider?
I bet. So, day in the life of Rigz. I mean, I got a 9 to 5. Well, not really a 9 to 5, more like a 7 to 3. Kind of make my own schedule. So sometimes I'm part time, sometimes I'm full time. I try to use my time wisely. So hours I'm not working or days I'm not working, I'm doing I'm in the tech game. So I'm coding, building web apps. You know what I'm saying? Learning new coding languages. So it's all part of, like I was having a conversation today. Someone asked me, if you couldn't do coding or music, what else would you do? I said, last year there was like this whole trend of people talking about they're creative. I'm a creative. Like, I'm really a creative. That's something I've been saying for years. So anything where I can create something out of nothing, it's kind of like my nature. So like with music, you just have a thought and you manifest a thought into music. Coding is the same way. Like, now I got the language now. I got to just come up with an idea and then create it. You know what I'm saying? So I spent a lot of time doing that. You know, JavaScript, Ruby, CSS, HTML, React, Java, doing it all. I'm learning. Me and my man Voss, he kind of was my door to get in that game. So and I took it and ran with it. Plan to make that my how I eat full time. Working on that. Outside of that, I'm a gamer. You know what I mean, I play games. Down with Xbox, PS4 all day. You know what I'm saying? I got the Xbox One also, but I'm not crazy about it. I let my daughter use that. I don't even play it.
Got you. So a PlayStation head, huh? PlayStation over Xbox.
Yeah, man, I've been a PlayStation dude since PS1.
Same, man. And you know, I get into the debate, but this is people like what they like, man.
Ain't no debate to have. Xbox is weak. This year was probably the best year they had for E3, the E3 conference.
Yeah, that's
Every
true.
other year they get smoked. You know what I'm saying? So
it's true, man. And you know what? I was mad. They got the one game, the Tomb Raider remake, man. They got the second game like a year before we did. That kind of upset me, man. But they had to do something, man. They had lost Call of Duty, PlayStation.
yeah, they had to do something. Desperation.
So again, that's probably something, and it makes sense going back real quick to you talking about creating something from nothing, right? I mean, that's something because of the way your mind works. Do you see colors with that too when you're creating apps? And I mean, you're actually creating an app though from ground up.
Nah, not really, because for me it's only with sound. Like only sound does that for me. So
Okay.
yeah, so I see colors with sound, but not really like ideas and thoughts. It's more like feelings. If I know how I want something to make me feel, it'll manifest a color. Like apps don't really make me feel anything. It's more like problem solving. Like if I could have anything to solve this problem, what would it be? That's kind of how a coder or developer thinks.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
And you just try to kind of make that happen or make it manifest or get with a team that could do it.
Indeed, man. And I mean that in itself, man, for me, just getting back into social media, and I'm 42, so I'm kind of at that age where I've been here. I was here before social media. I was here before phones, you know what I mean? We had Motorola flips and razors and whatnot. But, you know what I mean? I started thinking in this whole internet neutrality thing. I'm thinking of these millennials. I'm thinking of these high schoolers and 12 to 14, 15-year-olds I'm coaching. And they're like, I'm going to have to pay for Facebook or Twitter or IG. And I'm thinking, I'm not even tripping, bro. I'm like, well, I guess I'm only going to have a couple of them. You know what I mean? But them, they don't realize that I come from a time where we had pagers, bro. We didn't even have a cell phone. So to me, it would be different, but it'd be nothing for me to be without a cell phone.
That's all. It's the same thing. It's the same thing like when we was coming up. It was like, if you told me I couldn't have a pager, I'm saying my grandmother be like, well, we got the rotary over there. What you need the pager for? Like, you know what I'm saying? We'd be looking at her like, man, I ain't touching that thing. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just all, you know what I mean? As much as things change, they stay the same. So.
Right, that's true. It is. I laugh every time that interlude when you say, your voice said something before, but you said if it's not something, it's something else. It really is, man.
Yeah, if it ain't something, it's something else. That's really my life, man. Like, that's really what I know. So, like, a lot of, man, let me tell you, a lot of what we was talking about on there is real time. Not everything is in the past. Like, sometimes I was like, yo, let me just turn this mic on right now and record this moment right here.
Really?
You know yeah. I mean, like the and all that, that's real time. Like, yeah.
Wow. And I know you said to me one time it was based on cycles and things happening over and over again, right? Because you keep hearing a phone call about the job and you guys are outside having a conversation about the job. Hey, did you get a call back? What are we going to do? Hey, I can't have my daughter out here. That kind of thing. That's real life stuff. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? That's why for me, again, anyone that hasn't listened, please listen. And just start it from the beginning, man. You'll get almost everything in the prologue, almost
In the
every
beginning,
time. Not
right,
every
right.
time, but you'll get enough to where it's, to me, and I know we talked earlier, you said you can't really get into Uncharted on PS4 since to talk about it at a gamer level. I'm huge on story mode games, and I feel like I get drawn into the story a lot of times. And my son laughs at me when we play Fortnite, dog, because I'm like, I got the headset on, so I'm really on the screen running around in my mind, and they're just
Yeah,
in their living room playing a game. I come from like Nintendo, Atari 2600, Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn, and we
word.
always wanted, hey, what if you were at your house and I could play you? That'd be sick, and we can do it for real now. So
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
these young men be playing me all the time, like, Coach, I'm gonna put it on you in MLB The Show. I'm like, all right, you might, but you might not. You know what I mean? Have it lost, and I said, y'all are playing video games. I'm playing baseball. I don't know what y'all are doing. I'm playing baseball on the sticks, bro. So that's what
Word.
I feel like. So that's how I got drawn in on a
Mm.
Masterpiece, and it's one of those that honestly, and it's never gas with me. It's one of those that you put in and you just let it ride. I get in now. My son's like, Dad, can you play Good and Bad? He starts singing the chorus. I'm like, cool. I'll skip around for him, but normally I just throw it in and let it ride, man.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think definitely captured what you wanted to capture, at least from my side. And it makes me also, because of some of the things that I mean, there's some real life situations talked about in the interludes and the songs. And it
right.
takes me back to a time that I'd like to finish it up here on. We had a conversation and you termed something a way that, I mean, we had a conversation in one of the chats about people saying God spoke to me and God told me this and God told me that, right? And you said something that it jumped right off the page to me. You said, man, that's crazy. That's like having a loud thought. And there was
Word.
someone, Zadok, mentioned, oh, what do you mean? I knew right away what you meant, because I feel like it's happened. Could you explain that in your words? Because you
Word.
said you always hesitant when someone says God spoke to me, but explain the concept of that loud thought that you talking about.
So, thunder's rolling. All right. So, it kind of goes into how I got saved. So, it's kind of a good segue. Um, it's funny because when I remember I was a junior in high school in my English class, like I remember it like it was yesterday, and I felt like something was calling me or drawing me to something. Didn't know what it was, so immediately I'm thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like I know what the feeling is. The feeling was something higher up, like a higher purpose. So naturally, I'm thinking I got to start thinking about college. That's the first thing that came to my mind. And left English class, go play ball in the hood that day, and Rastafarian dude comes up to me, yo, Star Wagwan, yo. And he comes, picks me out of everybody on the court, want to
Wow.
talk to me about becoming a Rasta.
Wow.
Now, I wasn't the only one there with dreads, so I'm like, why he picked me? All right, cool. Next day, one of my mans, I'm from Staten Island, and, the Wu influence was heavy out there, so a couple of my mans in them was 5%ers. You know what I'm saying? Nation of Gods and Earths and all that. And they was trying to recruit me the next day, and I'm like, why are these religious people coming up to me
Man,
all
back
of a
to
sudden?
back.
Back to back, sound like daily. The next day was like a straight up Muslim, like a traditional Muslim brother tried to holler at me, and then somebody else, and it was just like back to back to back. And then that feeling came back, and I'm like, but it wasn't college, you know what I mean? But it was something about coming up, like something higher up. So one day, my cousin, who I haven't seen probably a couple years at this point, as soon as I woke up in the morning to go to school, his name is ringing off in my head. It was a Friday. Go to school, get out of school, I go hit the block. He's pulling up. Now, he's known in the neighborhood for having like the nice cars with the loud systems and all that. So he pulls up, boom, 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 bumping whatever he bumping. And I'm like, yo, your name came to me as soon as I woke up this morning. That's crazy. That loud thought, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, yo, that's what's up. yo, he was like, yo, you want to roll? So I'm like, where you going? So yo, I'm going to Bible study. I'm like, Bible study. Now, I don't know this man to go to church and nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to chill with my cousin. So I was like, yeah, I'm with it. Let's go. So we go to Bible study. That's why I remember it was a Friday. And long story short, I'm sitting in the service in the study, and the pastor's like looking at me intently, and he's just reading out my whole life in front of me. Like more specifically, he's reading out my day. Like, yeah, that feeling you've been feeling all week. He was like, yeah, that's God calling you. He's calling.
Wow.
He's calling. So that joint spooked me, because up until that point, I was dozing off in the service.
Like how do you know?
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, he's like, yeah, that's God calling you. And he said something to me that always stuck with me. He said, and so you know it's real because now you know who's calling you. Things ain't going to get better. It's going to get harder just to divert you.
Wow.
And so from that night, we left service. I go home. My mom's is outside beefing. Where you at? I was trying to call you. Da-da-da. I'm like, what happened? She's like, I'm locked out. The stove is on. This, that, and the third. Now, the thing is, we on the second floor. We got a fire escape. I'm like, why? But the fire escape. She said, of all days, the gate is locked.
Oh, my.
Like, it was just like mayhem since that day. And it was just thing after thing each time. And those trials is what drew me closer to God rather than push me away from him. You know, so like the beginning of my walk was always trials and tribulations. So with that said, like I didn't even know the Bible yet. And when I started to read the Bible, I seen my experiences in there after the fact. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, they read the Bible and then they go through things and they interpret it based on what they were taught already. For me, it was the other way around. You know what I'm saying? So, like, perfect example, I'm with my girlfriend at the time. We at Juve in Brooklyn. Juve is like a West Indian celebration before the Caribbean Day Parade. So it's like 3, 4 in the morning in Flatbush. Anybody know it gets dangerous and real out there at that time. But, you know, me and my private self, I'm like, go where I want to go. so, so, so I'm out there. It's just me and her. And we out there chilling, having a good time. And then that loud thought. And that's why I could explain it that way, because it was like a loud, nagging, like piercing thought, because it wasn't audible, but I could hear it. And it was like, walk around the block. I'm like, huh? So I ignored it. It was like, walk around the block. And I couldn't ignore it no more. It just felt, it was urgent. So I told my girl, I said, this might sound crazy, but you need to walk around the block. And she said, what? I said, just listen to me. So we literally hit 4 corners on the block, came back to where I was standing, and there was a dude shot down right there.
Wow.
Standing at. A few weeks later, I'm at a party. There are my cousin, my mans, we chilling, having a good time. And the loud thought comes again, leave. So I second guess all the time, because I could be making this stuff up, trying to be extra and trying to be deep, because I'm saved now. So I'm like, nah, I'm chilling. And it was like, leave. So I told my man and my cousin, I said, yo, we got to go. So they thinking it's something popping up, like, yo, what's popping? What happened? What happened? I'm like, nah, we got to go. So we leave, didn't hear nothing. So they was like, yo, why we had to leave? I'm like, I don't know. I think God told me we had to go. And then maybe by the end of the next day, we heard the party got shot up after we left.
Man, bro.
So I understood from my experiences, that's how God spoke to me in these loud thoughts. And then I would go read the word and I see how he spoke to Samuel and all these people. And it was like, that's the experience I had. Like I seen it after the fact. Like, oh shoot, that's what happened to me.
Right. And you know what, I think that happens for a lot of people, because at least me coming up, we used the Old Testament a little bit, but we didn't really read it like that, man. So you go back and you read yourself. I went through maybe about an 8 to 10 year period where I just dove into the Old Testament, and I found the same thing. I'm like, man, but for me, it was different. You know, like, man, I was like, man, I've been in church my whole life and I ain't never seen this before. Like,
Word.
I kind of got mad at everybody for a minute, but I mean, you get it because you just had that feeling like, man, I've been in, you know, you go to church, vacation, Bible school, and all that, but it really mean a whole lot, man. It's just like there's people that have experienced life outside of your circumstances that have experienced something different, but
Right.
you all to
Yo,
believe the same experience, some of the same experiences, but it's a little different, man. You might not be
word.
in
Like,
the middle of the battlefield naked and not know it.
so listen, based on the story I just told you, imagine how it feels when I look and I read that you don't choose God, God calls you. That was my experience. That's what I know. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
Like,
Absolutely.
so, like I didn't choose God. I wasn't looking for God. Like God literally called me in my English class when I wasn't thinking nothing about him. And the devil tried to jump in and throw other people in my path to recruit me. You know what I'm saying? So when I read God calls and all of that and how he spoke to Samuel and like none of that was far fetched to me because that's what I knew.
Absolutely.
The people might be like, all right, they're talking to God one on one, like literally, like to most people that sounds like crazy.
Right.
To me, it was like, yeah, that's what happens.
Just like that, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't really doubt it. And then like things were like healing and all that. Cause you know, we had them discussions. Like I seen things first-hand basis. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where I prayed for my best friend who is like on the fence about being a believer and all that. Like sometimes she is, sometimes she ain't. But if I call her right now, she'll verify the story. You know what I'm saying? Prayed for her because she used to do my hair when I had braids.
Okay.
She always had arthritis in her wrist. So sometimes it'd be in a cast and she's like, yo, I can't do your hair this week. It's flaring up. Like it's one of the things that always flared up. And went out to eat and was like, yo, me and my cousin was like, yo, can we just pray for you before you go upstairs for your wrist? And this is the bugged out thing too is she was really big on like not letting people lay hands on her and all of that. Like she wasn't into that. Like, nah, don't touch me. Don't be
Yeah.
doing that spooky stuff with me.
Yeah.
Man, but she was like up for it, kind of like whatever, like all right. So it was like word, all right. We prayed for her, and yo, she just bawled out in the tears and jumped out the car and ran upstairs. And I was like, yo, did we scare her? Like, what happened? And she called me and was like, yo, as y'all praying, I felt it. Like I literally felt it in my wrist just heal. And I can't explain what I felt, but and she was like, you know, I don't even really believe in that like that. But it was so scary. It was so scary. That's why I didn't know what to do. All I could do was cry and run.
Man.
And this was, I want to say about 17, 18 years ago. And she hasn't had it since.
Man. And it sounds
So,
like healed, man.
so I know the experiences that I went through before I even knew the word like that. So it's just certain things I'm not going to contend with, you know? Because I can't really debate it and say, is it something I'm just indoctrinated with? Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's not a factor. So yeah,
That makes all the sense in the world, man. So I want before we get out,
yeah.
first let them know where they can find you on social media, and then what you're doing right now. Because if you're gonna wait another 7 years to put out an album, it sounds like you're definitely into the coding and everything else, man. Let them know where they can find you on social media. Let them know where they can get both albums, Renaissance and the Masterpeace. And I say get them both, man. Both of them have a prologue, so he's been doing it this way. It is an experience to go through it, but let them know where they can find that as well. And then what you're going to be doing going forward, at least in the near future, for them to be looking out for. Because I know you're trying some things on Zoom as well. Definitely let them know.
Yeah. So like the prologue thing was a complete accident. I ain't realized till way later. Just like Renaissance and Masterpiece both deal with art, and that was an accident. You know, so and the 7 years was an accident, or is it, quote unquote? I mean, but yeah, they could be both found at rigz.info, rigz.info. that goes to my Bandcamp. Masterpeace is also on every digital platform, streaming, download. It's all over. I'm thinking about possibly putting the Renaissance on streaming as well, because I started seeing a resurgence of people purchasing the Renaissance. So I'm thinking maybe I'll put that for streaming as well. Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Rigz Carrington. On Twitter, I'm Rigz Carrington. What else am I on? I'm not really on much else like that. IG, Masterpeace Rigz, peace spelled like the album, PEACE _ Rigz. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. You know, I frequent IG and Facebook probably the most. I'm not on Twitter as much, but I try to keep up on there. And as far as going forward, man, I mean, it was the same plan. Like, I don't really plan to put out another project because I don't know. I don't chase music, man. Like, I really don't. And when I felt burdened to do the Masterpiece. Like, my man Avalon on the last record, like, he could tell you the conversations over the years when I'm like, yo, I'm not doing no album, man. For what? Like, I don't got no infrastructure like that. You know what I'm saying? When you do this music, a lot of people halfway do it. They don't got no infrastructure, but think they're gonna pop because they got a nice song. Like, it don't work that way. I'm a realist. I understand how this works, you know. But I felt burdened to do the song to the point where I didn't even share this with a lot of people, but because it's kind of morbid. But I used to feel like something was gonna happen to me before the album finished. So I felt like I had to hurry up and do it, almost like a Tupac kind of thing. Like, I felt like my time was limited and I had to get this album done. So it's just this urgency, and I felt burdened and responsible. Like, if this don't get put out, you're gonna be responsible for the people that don't hear it. That's how I felt. So that was really the motivation to do it. So now that that's done, I need a real motivation from God to do another album or another project. So if that comes, it'll come when it does. Otherwise, I'm chasing this tech game. You know what I mean? There's a lot of money there. I enjoy it. I could still use my creativity in another way and not box myself into music. And that's really the plan, man. And to get the heck out of New York, because it's too stressful, man. Like, when you got police bothering you every week and you got to go home and your cost of living is through the roof, but your pay ain't, you can't find a parking space, you getting tickets, and that's more money out your like, it's just stressful type of stress, man. Like, maybe it makes for good music, but bump that. I'm trying to go live a good life.
Absolutely, man. Dollar in a dream.
Yeah, for real, man. For real. You're really, if it is something else, man.
It really does, man. I appreciate you taking the time, Rigz. You know what? We'll look forward to getting a response from other people as well. It'll be on CHHTS, and we'll see what it does, man. I appreciate you taking the time for sure, though, bro.
In the Lord's name. In the Lord's name. In the Lord's name, amen, the same to your name. I maintain sane in the membrane, right? Had no job, my wallet was a tube shop. My dudes got no savings, they deposits in a shoebox. I woke up to a treasure in heaven and store the weapons of my war for the war session. Yeah, it's like that. Strike first, I strike back. Turn the other cheek is what I seek, so I fight that. Living less or living lesson. Soul pressing. Who the blessing, who the blessing? Cause yo, our path ain't right. See, I feel the middle class. We ain't wanna hear the science when the math ain't right. But now Messiah my cosign, and add another tangent of cosign. Most high, so divine. If you know what I mean, y'all, raising up a hand cause I see y'all and shout like a free in the Lord's name. Things I never seen it the same in the Lord's name. Lord, I gotta eat, but I ain't never needed to blame in the Lord's name. Some say they love you, but I don't think we mean it the same in the Lord's name. Things I never seen it the same in the Lord's name. I know what love They'll only come from above. Avoid the raven and eat with the dove. In the Lord name, laughter and love. Living happy in hugs. I got the plug. What we trapping is love. In the Lord name, Sabbath in the slums. Daughters and sons, we're here to worship and glory the Son. In the Lord name, to be redeemed, he left and came for the one. We coming home like the prodigal son. In the Lord name, my second chance, second coming a man. I understand it was part of the plan. In the Lord name, I ain't divine, only in divine. Yeah, I did it with a 9, but I wanted mine. I'ma finish the race, gotta live on my pace. I fall short, many running in place. In the Lord name, many took your mercy forsaken, and now they passed on. Favorite rapper probably ain't make it. In the Lord name.